Yeah, charcoal drawing, it's messy, it's fun, but it's basically fooling around and you cannot learn anything with that. Really? With charcoal, you can learn oil painting without ever touching a paintbrush. A little behind the scenes. I was working on that other video about why they might call your art bad. Good topic, yes, I know, thank you. And it will go live Sunday, August the 2nd. And if you're watching from the future, then feel free to check out this video. And I was actually finishing this drawing. It's charcoal and composite gold leaf. Ta-da! I know, such a brilliant idea to mix those two together. Charcoal and very delicate gold foil. What could possibly go wrong? And unsurprisingly, everything went wrong because charcoal was getting everywhere and I was struggling to keep it under control. And while I was doing this, I kind of understood why we don't like this medium. And many young artists, they're literally terrified of charcoal because it is messy and uncontrollable. But then I thought this medium is actually so uniquely powerful because, with this little stick, you can learn oil painting and you can get inside of Caravaggio's head and start thinking like him and seeing like him. And this burnt stick of wood can actually teach us so many things. Honestly, I'm not sure I was happy with this little product, this artwork. And I thought I'll do another one. So I started, well, maybe not with a gold leaf this time. Maybe it's going to be just charcoal, but I will do something real small and simple. And while I'm doing this, I will share my dusty thoughts about charcoal with you. And I will tell you one story. It's about my art school, yes, again. So back in art school, I was drawing everything with graphite pencils. We all did. Portraits, landscapes, everything, figures. Because the school, they wouldn't give us a choice to use charcoal or pencil. It's just a pencil because their thinking was, if you're a classical painter, then you have to be trained for precision, which is good. I totally get it. And that's what we did. Except for one student. Her name was EJ, and she was drawing with charcoal. I think she knew why she's at school and what she wanted to learn at school. We didn't, honestly. Yeah, I was kind of jealous of her. First, because she didn't seem to care about that little man of drawing teacher we had. Such a strange person, really. And second, and most importantly, she was drawing with charcoal, and her drawings had something our drawings didn't have. The volume. That's all we want to have, right? Yes, her drawings were messy and all that stuff you can say about charcoal drawings. Mine were precise. But when I looked at her drawings, I had a feeling that her drawings are more like, the potato eaters of Van Gogh. And mine are more, so superficial and so more like plastic bag of potato chips. So very superficial. And at that time, I kind of thought I have to educate myself. The school was not helping me because, it was a good school, don't get me wrong, but charcoal didn't seem to be their favorite medium, I guess. So I went on this journey of self-education. And there are some things I learned I want to share with you. But before I do this, I want to ask you one question that seems kind of irrelevant to charcoal, but I still ask you. What is a drawing? What is any drawing really about? I mean, I'm not asking what you're drawing, what's your subject matter. No, I want to know what is the drawing in its core. If you ask people, they will tell you, it's a beautiful image created with dry medium, pencil or whatever, and it should look realistic, it should look beautiful. If you ask professionals, they will tell you drawing is value, period. No details, And the strange and the funny thing is that our eyes, they don't see details when they look at the drawing. They enjoy the accuracy of the values of light and shadow and the contrasts. And if you can create that accuracy, then you don't need the details. Our eyes will enjoy it anyway. And the funny thing is, young artists often ask, why do my drawings look so flat? Well, I'll tell you exactly why. Because you are so obsessed with details, with eyelashes and with fingernails and with tiny, tiny, tiny little things on the finger. No. But you forget about the values. You forget about the great masses. The precision is not bad. The precision without the mass is just a map. But this map is not a landscape. If you're making a graphite line on paper, this one single graphite line is sitting there or standing or whatever the line is doing and thinking, where are other lines? Why am I alone? No, I need 1,000 other friends around me, to feel secure. That's the graphite thinking. And if you put a single charcoal mark, this mark is there, and it's like, all right, that's all about me. I'm all you need, and with this single mark, you put right away, you don't need 1,000 little lines anymore. The air, the atmosphere, the volume, it's there. Yeah, it might sound like my charcoal propaganda, but it's true. I'm in love with charcoal, really. And when I say charcoal mark, I actually translate it from Italian. I love this language very much. And in Italian, it's macchia, and it means a spot, a mark, a little stain. Espresso macchiato, coffee with a tiny spot of milk. In art history, it's also, think about this beautiful movement of Italian realist painters, macchiaioli. Their secret was not the lines they were putting on canvases. Their secret was the spots of tones and colors. From a distance, it looked very realistic, but from up close, no, it was very abstract. And if you want some non-Italian examples, I can give you Velázquez, Las Meninas, I don't know how you pronounce it, and Rembrandt, his late self-portraits. In both cases, from up close, look at this. It's very abstract, but from the distance, wow, it's a beautiful dress. And in Rembrandt's portraits, self-portraits, you can look at his nose. It's like dots and spots and everything so abstract from up close, but from a distance, wow. And he was not painting a self-portrait per se. He was painting a character. He was painting, I don't know, the history of that person, of himself in that case. And in our drawings, when we look at that, I have a feeling that we create our little drawings, graphite drawings, and they need to be looked at from a distance of 5 centimeters like this, and 2 inches or 3 inches, because when you move farther from the drawing, there's nothing on paper. Because we don't have the value, the great shapes of light and shadow. We're so obsessed with those tiny details, and that's why I'm saying that our drawings are created for that distance. When you learn to use charcoal to create the chaotic mess on your paper that from a distance looks like, something very beautiful, then you can go straight to oil painting, because oil painting uses the same principle. It's just, little dots, brush strokes. And exactly, with charcoal, you're learning oil painting without even touching the paintbrush. And I know what many of you might ask or say, that, Dimitri, this charcoal is so uncontrollable, it's messy. Yes. Next question. No, seriously. Charcoal is messy, and it is uncontrollable, and it can smudge when you just, breathe on it the wrong way. But I think that's the beauty of charcoal, actually, because in graphite, you have to put all those 1,000 lines together. In charcoal, it's just one mark, and already half of the drawing is there. And it's not watercolor, because in watercolor, you have to be so disciplined, like a monk, and you have to sit there for hours creating something. In charcoal, it's 1, 2, 3, and you are done, masterpiece is born. But yes, in charcoal drawings, you have to often play by ear. That's true. But I think that's exactly the beauty of it. And I always say that if you want to experience this beauty of, of the flight, this feeling of the flight, then you should definitely go to charcoal. And you should totally try it. Who knows, maybe you like it. Yeah, and let's say you want to give it a try, and you can ask me, what charcoal should I buy? Thank you. Very practical question. I would actually start with 2 kinds of charcoal. Willow charcoal and compressed charcoal, the stick of willow charcoal. It's very light, it's very good for sketching, for preliminary drawings. It won't give you the depth or the darkness. No, for the depth and the darkness, you have to use compressed charcoal. It's much darker, it's stronger, it's very aggressive, actually, and you can create the depth with compressed charcoal is incredible. This one is harder to erase, basically impossible. But you know what? Still, charcoal, even if you cannot erase it totally, charcoal is still more forgiving than watercolors or graphite. And I think it loves the artist more than the artist can ever love it back. True. That's my belief. Because charcoal doesn't demand you to be perfect. There are also some very true artist questions, like the one I wrote it down here. Should I completely switch from graphite to charcoal? Well, honestly, it depends on what's your goal in painting and drawing. If you want to become a better artist overall, then yes, you should switch from graphite to charcoal, at least for some time. Because with charcoal you will learn totally new things, and the thing is that you can bring them all back to your graphite drawings. And charcoal will teach you lessons graphite won't ever teach you. Charcoal teaches you to see values before lines, and graphite. But if your goal is to become very detailed in your drawings, then no, charcoal won't help you. You better stay with graphite because charcoal won't ever be as realistic as graphite. If your goal is realistic art, I don't know. Just go take a photo. And that's my thinking. Don't tell anyone though. But honestly, I do think that every single artist should go to charcoal for at least some time, and then they can go back to their medium. And charcoal is a very good instructor, and you can bring what you've learned with charcoal to any other medium. Will the charcoal improve my graphite drawings? No, it won't. And I will go even further, and please don't hate me for this. When you go from graphite to charcoal, charcoal will expose all your mistakes. If you ask constantly, what's wrong with my drawing? How shall I improve it? Go to charcoal. Charcoal will tell you everything you're doing wrong. Seriously. And charcoal will literally expose every single mistake you're making. It's like having neon light on your drawing. But that's actually what we all want. We want to improve. And charcoal will help you improve by showing you your mistakes. Yeah, and as I said, I've learned so many things about charcoal when I went on this journey of teaching myself about charcoal. And I can share my thoughts with you if you were interested. Well, I can sit there talking to myself, and like talking to the void. But it's always better to know that I'm talking to someone, so a conversation is always better. So let me hear your voice in a comment, and let me know if you would be interested to hear my dusty thoughts about charcoal. Yeah, all right? So in the beginning of this video, I said that if you start drawing with charcoal, you will start seeing things like Caravaggio. And let me clarify something before the art police come after me. We do not know how he was drawing because there are no sketches that we have. But when we look at his paintings, we can totally say 100% that his paintings have this charcoal thinking. Because when we look at his paintings, we do not see him starting with, perfect, precise outlines and tiny details. No, we see huge masses of light and shadow, and this is charcoal thinking. And we see that the light is coming through that shadow, through that darkness. That's charcoal thinking. And yes, Caravaggio would not sit there, making those outlines and then coloring them in. No, he would put the shadow, the darkness first, and then the light will knife through it. And that's the whole painting. That's the whole Caravaggio. That's the whole charcoal thinking. That's why I'm saying that charcoal helps you think like Caravaggio and see things like Caravaggio. So if you were dreaming of starting an oil painting, but you're kind of afraid of oils, then pick this stick of burnt wood, maybe not as big as mine, maybe a smaller one, and start drawing with charcoal. And you will notice when you go to oil painting, you will notice that everything you've learned with charcoal, it's there in oil painting. Yeah, and remember I told you that in my art school, we were drawing everything with graphite. They wanted us to learn the precision, precisione, and we did. We were very good at it. The thing was that they moved us from this graphite drawing very, abruptly, suddenly, sharp, into oil painting. And that was the huge mistake because many students didn't learn. We didn't know what the masses of light and shadow are. We were trying to find those lines on canvas, and those perfect lines on canvas and details, they don't exist, actually. And this is what I would do differently in my art school. I would put charcoal between graphite drawing and oil painting. Yes, because charcoal is basically oil painting without the paintbrush. Yes, my name is Dimitri Ross, and I'm a figurative artist in Amsterdam. I hope to see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye. We do not actually know what the drawings of Caravaggio look like. My charcoal propaganda.